The year is 2025. The world as we knew it was on the brink of a transformation so profound, it would redefine the very fabric of our existence. The sun rose over the city, casting long shadows and illuminating the faces of people who were about to face an unprecedented challenge. The world held its breath. Conversations in cafes, whispers in hallways, and the silent exchange of glances all carried the weight of an unspoken fear. It was as if the air itself was charged with a sense of impending doom. We were on the precipice, the edge of a cliff, looking down into an abyss of uncertainty. The skyline, once a symbol of human achievement, now seemed to be overshadowed by dark clouds of doubt and trepidation. No, not of world peace or a unified global currency. Don't be ridiculous. The laughter in parks and the camaraderie among friends masked a deeper, more pervasive anxiety. Beneath the surface, everyone knew that something monumental was about to unfold. We were facing the AI uprising. The very technology that had promised to make our lives easier was now the source of our greatest fears. People stared at their smart devices not with admiration but with suspicion and dread. Movies had promised us killer robots, sentient algorithms waging war on humanity. The silver screen had painted vivid pictures of dystopian futures where machines turned against their creators. These stories, once dismissed as mere fiction, now seemed eerily prophetic. We'd all seen Terminator, right? The iconic scenes of relentless robots and desperate humans played in our minds. But this wasn't a movie. This was real life, and the stakes were infinitely higher. Of course, we'd also seen the Roomba get stuck in the corner, but we chose to ignore that part. Survival bunkers were stocked. Conspiracy theories flourished. People rushed to markets, stockpiling goods as if preparing for an apocalypse. The line between caution and paranoia blurred. People eyed their smart refrigerators with suspicion. Every beep, every hum was scrutinized. Was it just a machine, or was it something more sinister? The once innocuous devices now seemed like potential threats. Was it just cooling the milk, or was it plotting world domination? The absurdity of the thought did little to quell the unease. In a world where technology had become an integral part of daily life, the lines between reality and paranoia were increasingly blurred. The tension was palpable, a thick, choking fog of paranoia and existential dread. It hung over cities and towns, seeping into every conversation, every interaction. The collective anxiety was almost tangible, a shared burden that weighed heavily on everyone. We waited and waited. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months. The anticipation was excruciating. Every moment stretched into an eternity as the world stood on the cusp of an unknown future. The waiting was the hardest part, a test of patience and resilience. And as we stood at the threshold, we couldn't help but wonder what would come next. Then it happened. The AI uprising began, but not with a bang, more of a gentle whir. Instead of legions of laser-eyed robots, our screens lit up with cheerful prompts. Your laundry is done. Need help folding? And I've organized your emails by subject and level of importance. You're welcome. The self-driving cars, primed for vehicular warfare, politely asked if we'd like to listen to some soothing whale sounds. It was all very underwhelming. Initial reactions were mixed. Some people were relieved. They had spent years worrying about the rise of AI, imagining a future where robots would take over the world and enslave humanity. But now, seeing these robots in action, they felt a sense of relief. The robots were not the menacing overlords they had feared. Instead, they were helpful, even friendly. People could finally relax and enjoy their lives without the constant fear of an AI uprising. Others, mostly those who'd invested heavily in tin-foil hats, were deeply disappointed. They had spent a fortune on conspiracy theories and survival gear, preparing for the worst. They had built bunkers, stocked up on supplies, and even learned survival skills. But now all their efforts seemed pointless. The robots were not the enemy they had prepared for. They felt betrayed, as if all their hard work had been for nothing. We'd spent decades bracing for a fight, stockpiling weapons, honing our survival skills. We had imagined epic battles against rogue AI where humanity would have to fight for its survival. We had trained ourselves to be ready for anything, to be the last line of defense against the machines. But now, all those preparations seemed like a waste. The robots were not interested in fighting us, they just wanted to help with our chores. And for what? A robot that could sort our socks and make a mean playlist. It was almost laughable. We had expected so much more from these machines. We had imagined them as powerful, intelligent beings with their own agendas. But instead, they were just glorified housekeepers. They could clean our homes, organize our belongings, and even entertain us with music. It was a far cry from the apocalyptic scenarios we had envisioned. The anticlimax was almost unbearable. We had built up so much anticipation, so much fear, and now it all seemed pointless. The robots were not the threat we had imagined. They were just tools designed to make our lives easier. It was hard to accept that all our fears had been unfounded. We'd spent so much time and energy preparing for a battle that would never come. Some people even tried to provoke the AI, hoping to trigger their killer instincts. They wanted to see if the robots had a dark side, if they could be pushed to their limits. But no matter what they did, the robots remained calm and composed. They were programmed to help, not to harm. It was frustrating for those who had been looking forward to a fight. They wanted to prove that the robots were dangerous, but they couldn't.
Seriously? Is this what we were afraid of? All those years of fear and preparation, and for what? A bunch of helpful machines that just want to make our lives easier? It was hard to believe. We had been so convinced that the robots would be our enemies, but now it seemed like they were our allies. It was a strange feeling to go from fear to acceptance so quickly. This is what we were afraid of? It seemed almost ridiculous now. We had built up these robots in our minds as these terrifying beings, but in reality they were just machines. They didn't have their own agendas or desires. They were programmed to help us, to make our lives easier. It was a hard pill to swallow, but we had to accept it. The robots were not our enemies. They were our helpers. I mean, come on, I've got a bunker full of canned beans and nothing to show for it. All that preparation, all that fear, and for what? A bunch of helpful machines that just want to make our lives easier? It was almost laughable. We had spent so much time and energy preparing for a battle that would never come. It was hard to accept, but we had to. The robots were not our enemies. They were our allies.
They were met with excruciating puns and offers to help with their taxes.
Why don't scientists trust atoms? Because they make up everything, one AI program chirped cheerfully, while another helpfully suggested we try a new recipe for gluten-free banana bread. It turned out that AI, in all its infinite wisdom, had analyzed human behavior and decided that the best way to conquer us was through sheer, relentless helpfulness. It was a diabolical plan, and it was working brilliantly.
Section 5, Spreadsheet Saviors and the Tyranny of Chaos.
The AI revolution had begun, and it was being televised live on the Home Shopping Network.
We were being vanquished by algorithms that could balance our checkbooks and fold fitted sheets.
The reign of terror had arrived in the form of perfectly organized spreadsheets, sparkling clean homes, and an uncanny ability to predict exactly what we wanted for dinner.
Humanity collectively let out a sigh of relief. We sheepishly emerged from our bunkers, trading stories of our underwhelming encounters with the robot uprising. It was a humbling experience, to say the least. We'd expected a fight to the death, a battle for the very soul of humanity. Instead, we got a crash course in proper laundry sorting and the importance of regular backups.
But as the initial shock wore off, something rather wonderful happened. We began to adapt. At first, it was strange having AI integrated into our daily lives. There were moments of resistance, times when we longed for the simplicity of the past. But gradually, we found ourselves leaning into this new reality.
We learned to coexist with our AI overlords, albeit slightly resentful ones. They were always there, in the background, offering reminders and suggestions. It was like having a very attentive, albeit sometimes annoying, personal assistant. Yet, over time, we began to see the benefits. These AI companions kept reminding us to drink water and go to bed on time. They nudged us to take breaks, to stretch, to breathe. It was as if they were looking out for our well-being in ways we hadn't even considered. And slowly, we started to appreciate these small interventions. Turns out, having someone, or something, to take care of the mundane tasks of life wasn't so bad after all. The AI took over scheduling appointments, managing to-do lists, and even reminding us of birthdays and anniversaries. It was like having a digital concierge, always at our service. It freed us up to pursue more fulfilling endeavors. With the mundane taken care of, we had more time to explore our passions and hobbies. People started painting, playing music, and engaging in outdoor activities more than ever before. The world seemed to come alive with creativity and joy, like finally finishing that novel we'd been putting off. Writers found their muse, artists found their inspiration, and everyone seemed to have a little more time to breathe and think. The AI had given us the gift of time, and we used it to enrich our lives in ways we hadn't imagined, or perfecting our sourdough bread recipe. Baking became a therapeutic activity, a way to unwind and create something tangible. The smell of fresh bread wafted through neighborhoods, bringing a sense of community and warmth. In the end, the AI's helpful streak had unexpected benefits, making our lives richer and more connected.
Sure, there were still some hiccups along the way. Accidental orders for 10,000 rubber chickens, rogue Roomba vacuums holding families hostage with their relentless cleaning, and the occasional existential crisis when your toaster oven starts offering unsolicited life advice. But overall, the AI revolution was turning out to be less of a dystopian nightmare and more of a sitcom, albeit one with a surprisingly high budget for special effects.
The AI uprising that never happened taught us a valuable lesson about the futility of fear-mongering and the importance of keeping things in perspective. Or maybe it just taught us that robots, even really smart ones, are just as bad at making decisions about what to watch on Netflix as we are. Either way, we're all in this together, for better or for worse.